Hello there.
This is where the fun begins.
Hey there guys, Unofficial Star Wars here. Hope you're all doing well and welcome to my Ahsoka Episode 5 breakdown video. We are going to be discussing all of the Easter eggs, things that you might have missed, and references throughout the episode, with really an overall explanation of the episode, like what just happened, as well as, of course, a handful of fan theories sprinkled throughout the video here as well. I think it's clear that it should go without saying that yes, clearly there are spoilers ahead, but if for whatever reason you made it this far into the video and didn't realize that, go watch it. It is absolutely amazing. I also want to quickly mention, I also have our reaction video for episode 5 here on the channel now. Thank you guys so much for all of the love and support over on that video. So, we open on the planet of Seotis with the ocean waves crashing against the cliffside. The shattered star map lines in ruin. Hera Syndulla arrives, finding no one. Jacen Syndulla, her son, and Chopper come out of the ghost to look about, but Hera hears a noise and finds Huyang holding Sabine's helmet. He laminates that he told Ahsoka Tano and Sabine Wren to stay together, but they never listen. Please, somebody give me a favor and go give poor Huyang a hug. The opening credits then quickly play, revealing the episode name, Part 5, titled Shadow Warrior. We shift to the world between worlds, and we're not ready for it, where Ahsoka is face to face with her former master, Anakin Skywalker. He says that Ahsoka still has a chance to live, and offers her to finish her training, with presumably one last final lesson. He then draws his lightsaber and begins to attack her, dueling her, as they echo eerily similar dialogue to their last duel from Twilight of the Apprentice from the Star Wars Rebels animated show, as Anakin tells her to fight or die, essentially. Although, I will say, I don't feel that this is necessarily as angry or as hateful or even as truthful compared to when Darth Vader was saying it, as we saw in Star Wars Rebels. This feels more as a genuine Anakin Skywalker, maybe even being a bit more playful at that. It really feels more as a genuine lesson, I think, at that. Although, back with our other heroes, Hera, Huyang, and Jacen with Chopper, Hera and Huyang are still trying to figure out exactly what had happened here, where Sabine and Ahsoka are. Carson Teva arrives with the remaining X-Wing squadron that we had saw in the previous episode, giving a nice shout out to our Princess Leia, stating that General Organa, or Senator Organa rather, is trying to buy them back at the New Republic headquarters as much time as possible. Which, with that, sounds great. It sounds that Princess Leia, first of all, Princess Leia, name drop, she could appear very soon, maybe somewhere within the Mandoverse. I'm not saying that she would appear in the Ahsoka show, but hey, never say never. It's just great to hear about Princess Leia for the fact of that she's being a senator, a part of the New Republic. What's strange though with this scene is that Jacen Syndulla tells his mother, Hera, that he can feel something about the water. He has her listen to the waves because he can hear lightsabers crashing. This is enough to get Hera moving to look for Ahsoka. Now, initially, with everybody's kind of initial thoughts and reaction over on Twitter, Instagram, and even here on YouTube, a lot of people were saying this was stupid. People are like, oh, is Hera like force sensitive all of a sudden, or what's going on with this? No, Hera Syndulla is not force sensitive whatsoever, but Jacen Syndulla, her son, is, because as we all know, Jacen's father was a Jedi Master to the missing Ezra Bridger, Kanan Jarrus, giving him force sensitivity powers. Hera, of course, knows of the Force. I mean, being a part of Star Wars Rebels, being married to a Jedi, for crying out loud, she's gonna believe within the Force and trust the Force. So she really gets her groove on and really gets to this mission. Okay, so, in case you need a refresher, in the World Between Worlds, Anakin is still dueling Ahsoka. He slushes out the bridge from under her feet, and she falls into a red mist. Ahsoka returns to the Clone Wars era and becomes a teenager again as it clears. I believe that I've already said enough about this in my reaction video, but Clone Wars flashbacks, I mean, come on, in live action, absolutely amazing. This felt like a dream come true, or as a fever dream, as many have described it, just absolutely spectacular. They're on one of their first missions, as we saw in the animated show, Clone Wars. Ahsoka draws her once green lightsaber and charges into battle with Anakin Skywalker as he calls for her, calling, "Come on, Snips." I bawled my eyes out, guys. This was just absolutely amazing to see many of our childhood just kind of come to life here, and it finally happened. To see this recreated and done in live action and have these flashbacks was just amazing, and something that everybody wanted for the Ahsoka show. I personally never thought that we would actually get it, but here we are. In the aftermath of the battle, with Captain Rex in the background, mind you, we will see more of him in just a minute. Amidst the injured and dead clones, Ahsoka hesitates as she looks over her men. She calls out that she, as a Jedi, was trained to be a soldier, not a peacekeeper. She wonders if she will still have to teach her own future Padawan in combat and war, as the same that Anakin has done for her, as Obi-Wan did for Anakin. We also got an Obi-Wan Kenobi name drop in this episode here as well. I wonder if he'll ever appear in the Ahsoka show if we get more flashbacks. This whole sequence comes right back to the roots, though, however, of Ahsoka. Why she left the Jedi Order, why she doesn't call herself a Jedi throughout the Ahsoka show and throughout Star Wars Rebels. It very clearly illustrates that disconnect that Ahsoka had with the Jedi Order and with what they had going on with the Clone Wars and being so involved with this war. Very similar to the way that Qui-Gon Jinn had viewed the Jedi Order, although by that time the Clone Wars hadn't even started. Ahsoka says that she wants to stop fighting, and Anakin tells her that she will die if she does. The battle picks up again, and she catches a glimpse of Darth Vader in the distance through the smoke and the wreckage as she sees her Anakin Skywalker master headed off into more battle. Back with Jacen and Chopper on the planet of Seotis with Hera, Carson Teva, and Huyang, they watch as Carson Teva and his men continue to look for whatever Jacen is feeling within the Force. Hera questions why she's here, and Huyang offers his support for her unauthorized mission. Jacen Syndulla calls in that Chopper has picked something up on his scanners, and Hera heads out to check it out. Hera asks about Ahsoka and her past life of being a Jedi within the Clone Wars, and even asks about Anakin Skywalker, her former master, as Huyang, as we know, is over 700 years old, having been through the Clone Wars, and even before that. He gives a simple and perfect response to the question of what was Anakin Skywalker like, and he replies with intense. That's where we head back into more Clone Wars flashbacks. Oh my goodness, Clone Wars Season 7, Siege on Mandalore. We are firmly in the Season 7 during the Siege of Mandalore as a younger Ahsoka fights the Mandalorians who sided with Darth Maul, but although there is no Maul cameo sadly, but that would have been insane. We do get a confirmation of Tamora Morrison is playing Captain Rex as the clones push forward in battle, and as we also see him in the credits of the episode. Ahsoka watches the battle unfold as she questions once again, but then Anakin comes out, saying he wasn't a part of this battle and that he doesn't recognize this one. I think that this line's direct confirmation that, well, this is actually Anakin, like Anakin, as maybe a Force ghost. As she questions being a warrior once again, he says that she will soon be everything he is and have all of his knowledge. She's part of his legacy. She says that they're part of a lineage of death and war, but Anakin says that they're both more than that. She agrees, but notes that he has far more dangerous and powerful than anyone else knew. Anakin once again draws his now red lightsaber and attacks her once again. This fight isn't as measured as Ahsoka is kicked out of the flashback back into the world between worlds. Anakin begins to shift slowly into Darth Vader, back and forth, stalking towards his students. It's a frenzy battle, but Ahsoka regains her composure as she faces the demon. Ahsoka disarms him, holding the red blade to his throat. The reason for as of why this happens is because Anakin was within his dark side elements. And although while I don't completely understand it, as of for many of us, I'll try to understand it, and I want to discuss this in another video here on the channel in more depth and more detail, but Anakin as a Force ghost is able to be within both Darth Vader and Anakin as himself in both of those elements. And when he was attacking Ahsoka in this sequence as Darth Vader as a more evil or into the dark side of the Force, he was clouded, and for that he lost. He had made decisions in anger which had led him to illusion and not being able to see clearly, making him lose the battle. As Ahsoka turns off the blade and she says that she chooses to live, Anakin backs away as his eyes return to normal with a smile on his face, and with his last well wish, Anakin vanishes, leaving Ahsoka on her own. As the pathways of the world between worlds vanish, Ahsoka sinks into rising water and emerges in the oceans of Seotis. This brought absolute tears to my eyes. It was amazing, and I'm trying not to tear up just recording this. As we see the New Republic pilots rescue her, pulling her into the Ghosts. Sometime later, Ahsoka awakens and is greeted by Huyang, as he shares that Jacen Syndulla is the one that had found her. They join the others, as Ahsoka is wearing a white shawl this time around, and it's also revealed that she was out for one rotation, or about a day. Hera and Ahsoka try to piece together what had happened exactly, as Ahsoka uses a particular Force impression ability to discover what had happened to Sabine, Baylan, Shinhati, what happened after she fell off the cliff and ended up in the world between worlds. She hears the echoes of Baylan coaxing Sabine to join him from the last episode, but Carson Teva interrupts as per usual, saying that they have company. Remember, note how Huyang says that it's been about one rotation, or about one day in the Star Wars universe. I believe this to be important, and for us to remember this, because this shows that, well, Baylan and Morgan Elsbeth on the Eye of Sion, this giant hyperdrive, are headed to a whole nother galaxy. That's gonna take a minute, probably, and that minute might have already passed now. Very well meaning that they are getting very close to this other galaxy. I wouldn't be all that surprised if we see that in the next episode, or even in the next episode that we see some type of other time jump as well. So, we also see Ahsoka use the same Force ability, as I had mentioned, of being able to feel the surrounding objects around a scene, essentially, a crime scene, or a crime investigation in a way where she's able to feel the Force flowing through these objects and is able to tell what had happened here, or had gone on here, in an effort and an order to hopefully figure out and tell as of to what happened to Sabine. And she didn't necessarily explain it to Hera or Jacen or anybody else because they wouldn't necessarily understand it, but she knows exactly kind of what went on here and understands it and is going to make things better. We saw her do this in the second episode of the show, where she headed back to Sabine's house, actually, back on Lothal, to figure out, like, what happened here, like, who attacked her, actually. But before she's able to exactly explain this to Hera, or Jacen for that matter, the New Republic fleet is coming for Hera, Carson, and their troopers, and they're not happy about it. Hera leaves finding Sabine to Ahsoka while she deals with the New Republic. Ahsoka then sees the Purrgil up in the atmosphere of the planet. The Purrgil are these giant space whale-like creatures, essentially. They're the ones that took Ezra in the first place, and as we saw in Rebels, taking both Ezra and Thrawn into a whole nother galaxy. And so, Ahsoka, for what we saw at the end, actually, of this episode, does the same exact thing. Now, when we saw Ezra take away Thrawn and his fleet at the end of Rebels, he did this on purpose, of course, if you didn't know that already, but he was able to essentially talk to these Purrgils in the Force, essentially, the same way that we saw Ahsoka talking to Grogu in The Mandalorian Season 2 through the Force, because he wasn't able to speak English. It's very similar to Beast Tame, as we saw Anakin do in Attack of the Clones. Anyway, it's here that Hera faces a very unhappy Mon Mothma. The Chancellor's hands are tied to help them, because she does want to help them, and if Hera doesn't return with Ahsoka, Hera could lose her rank. As Mon Mothma cuts the call, Ahsoka arrives and knows how to find Sabine. Ahsoka and Hera fly their ships up to the Purrgil, joining in their pod. They have found the largest of the beasts that they can get, and Ahsoka goes outside into her ship. She communes with the Purrgil, but more complications happen from there. The New Republic has arrived, so Carson Teva goes up to keep them occupied as long as they can. The New Republic, if you didn't catch on, are after them and are so angry at Hera, General Hera Syndulla, and Carson Teva and his men because this is an unauthorized mission. As we saw in episode 3, I believe it was, we revealed that the New Republic don't really care about Thrawn or this whole mission to rescue Ezra Bridger or stopping from Thrawn returning. And for that matter, as we also saw in The Mandalorian Season 3, it doesn't really feel that the New Republic care all that much about the Imperial remnants and them coming back and forming an allegiance to strike back and cause a whole nother war, essentially. It's pretty much the main reason for as of why we got the sequel trilogy, why the First Order came to be, pretty much. Jacen Syndulla looks on in wonder as Ahsoka is able to connect through the Force with the Purrgil. Ahsoka tells Huyang to fly into the Purrgil's very big mouth. They then set their ship down, and Ahsoka muses that she has no idea where they're actually going. We can tell that the old Ahsoka's back, after seeing Anakin in the World Between Worlds and having that moment with her former master, that closure, really, to her former master, brought her peace. And a lot of people have complained throughout the overall show that, well, Ahsoka doesn't have any emotion. She never shows any emotion emotion because, well, she was depressed, okay? And if you caught on, essentially, for the second half of the episode after she came out of the world between worlds, she's much more hopeful, much more of a smile on her face, and I absolutely love it. I want to discuss and talk about more of that in a separate video here on the channel. The Purrgil from there are able to fly up into space between the New Republic ships, causing them a bit of a disarray. Hera and Ahsoka say their goodbyes, and the Purrgil zip off into hyperspace, with Ahsoka and Huyang in tow, where the episode ends. This episode left me speechless. It was nothing but short of just absolutely amazing. I've already gone through, I've watched it a couple of times, 2-3 times now, and it still gets me every time, and I think even on my 100th watch, it's still gonna get me, and I'm still gonna tear up. Now, a couple of fan theories, real quick. I think that this isn't the last of Anakin. I think that we're going to see more of Anakin by the end of the show, probably more closer to the finale, because I'll want to discuss this in another video, as I will do for many of these theories. But we do hear other and more dialogue from Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker, in a couple of the TV spots or trailers for the Ahsoka show, so I think that there's more footage of the character and that he will make an actual return. I think, though, however, it won't necessarily be within the world between worlds, and that if for anything, it's just going to be a simple Force ghost. Next episode, we're definitely arriving within the other galaxy. At least we're definitely going to see Sabine, Shin, and Baylan and Morgan Elsbeth, the Eye of Sion, arriving in this other galaxy. We're definitely getting Thrawn in the next episode. I also mentioned this in my reaction video here on the channel. My only complaint about this episode is that, well, Baylan and the Eye of Sion, like Shin and Sabine, Morgan Elsbeth, they didn't appear in this episode. They weren't necessarily needed in this episode, though, however, so I think it's fine. Anyway, of course, guys, I would love to hear all of your thoughts and opinions, your reactions, your theories in the comment section down below. What did you think about Ahsoka Episode 5? Thanks so much for watching today's video. It means the absolute world to me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great one. May the Force be with you as always. Peace out.